Me, Cubans are the whitest of all Hispanics.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of what keeps the other side of the spectrum up in the night. Now, you did hear that sister say that they are one of the most whitest groups of Hispanics. And if that were true, then why did they vote for the Trumpian back though? And now he's just mass deporting them. Anyways, as always, who are we to judge? In today's video, we get to find out how exactly Cubans got into the mix of being deported. They were granted asylum. From there, they had residency and perhaps were even climbing to the stairs of acquiring citizenship in the land of the free. But why all of a sudden the government's mind changed? You're about to find out in today's video. And also don't forget to like.
Almost 50,000 Cubans from the Miami area in Florida are facing deportations. That's because thousands of those Cubans filed for political asylum and were granted political asylum, except they went back and visited their homeland of Cuba. Well, the big deal is that when you file for political asylum, you're declaring that your life is in danger in your home country. And by these Cubans going back to Cuba to visit, that means that the entire process of the political asylum was fraud. The application asked for political asylum seekers to give detail of why they can't go back to their country, why their lives are in danger in their homeland. And Cubans gave those statements that their life was in danger if they ever went back to Cuba. So going back to visit Cuba after you've been granted political asylum indicates that these Cubans have been granted political asylum based on false information. Now, it's no secret, Cubans played a huge role on the re-election of Donald Trump. And a lot of them feel let down by this administration because now they're being sent back home. So I'm going to ask all the Latino community, and I will do the same, to please hold a moment of silence for the thousands of Cubans who now are going to be forced to go back to the island. So anyway.
As you may have heard, many Cubans with permanent residency may now be facing deportation after having returned to Cuba with their permanent residence card. And this is because when you file for asylum and you are granted asylum, and many of these individuals obtain their permanent residency after seeking asylum successfully, they are essentially saying that they're scared to return to their home country. And so when they did return to Cuba, now they are being flagged for committing fraud. And if in fact you travel back to your home country, whether you're from Cuba or not, if you have asylum granted and you are now a permanent resident, you should be very, very wary of traveling back to your home country and not being placed in secondary inspection when you re-enter the United States. It is obvious that you're going to be flagged, and I've been saying this for many years. You shouldn't even travel back if you are a U.S. citizen and you became a U.S. citizen by way of permanent residency, by way of an asylum granted. At any point, you are subject to a review of that, and if it is determined that you became a U.S. citizen through fraud or a permanent resident through fraud, they can try and place you in removal proceedings to take away your citizenship and or your permanent residency. So let this be a warning for anybody considering returning to your home country after affirmatively and successfully getting asylum in the United States, because this will likely flag immigration and give them a reason to place you in removal proceedings in an attempt to strip you of your status.
For those that know me well, I'm a very political guy, and anyway, so I was reading this article where the Cuban community was outraged because a Cuban citizen was being deported back to Cuba, and I just couldn't help it but to just wonder, now that laws are changing on immigration, and Cubans will be treated just like everybody else that comes to the United States, and wants asylum and refugee, whatever you want to call that, have to go through the entire process just like everybody else. Are those Cubans from Florida, whatever you want to call it, gonna change their mind and their views on immigration now that they will be treated no different, even though, you know, those Cuban Americans feel like they're the shit and they feel like no other immigrants should come to the United States illegally, but their grandparents did. My question is, are they gonna change the way they vote in Florida? Because yeah, I'm sure they have family in Cuba, just like we all do back in our homes, you know. Are they going to change their views on immigration, on the immigration laws, and change the way they vote? Or are they just going to continue to vote for this dumbass Marco Rubio and the other guy, Dos Santos, whatever his name is? Are they going to change the way they vote? Or they're just going to be like, whatever, we here. We got papers, we citizens, we don't give about them Cubans from Cuba. Anyways, I was just wondering, but yeah, I'm just glad that in some way everybody, you know, if I have to follow the process or I gotta get deported because I'm Mexican, you know, shit, everybody else needs to be treated the same. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, we're all looking for a better life, and I know it's wrong to get deported because most of the people, I'm not gonna say it all, but 90% of the people that come to this country illegally or legally are looking for the same thing, looking for a better life. But you know, it just really, really irritates me that, you know, all these Cubans from Florida, you know, they're like, oh, American citizen, my fit is dry. Deport everybody else. Not close the borders, you know. Anyways.
Hey y'all, what's up? Good morning, mother. Now I'm starting my day per usual with a cup of coffee, but I want to talk about mass deportation and how it may affect the Cubans here in Miami. Now, I am from Miami, born and raised in the county of Dade. I am a true Floridian. Now, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of what Miami can be, as well as the racism from the Latin community, especially the older ones. For some reason, they despise black, even though we always been here. But I digress. Now, word on the curb is 50,000 Cubans from Miami may be deported back to Cuba. Now, the reason they're looking at deporting them back is because they say they lied on their paperwork when they sought asylum to remain in the country. Now, I'm not sure how it worked, but what it's saying is when they seek asylum, they literally had to fill out in detail in the paperwork in order to receive it that their country was a dangerous country. They couldn't go back and they needed to stay here because this allegedly is a safe space. In doing so, they declared their lives was in danger because of their home country. And this is why they can't go back. But what had happened was, and I feel like the state and the country and everybody have been tracking this because they had to. They're saying that 50,000 of them who seek the asylum actually revisited their country. And what they're saying is, if your country was so dangerous, why did you go back as a visitor? And this is why they're looking to revoke 50,000 people asylum, because they're saying that now they lied on the documentation in order to stay in the country. So I'm not sure exactly how that would work, because that is a lot of people. I have a lot of friends in that community that I love to death, but there is a lot of people in that community, again, like I said before, that really don't like black people. And there's no reason why. Like, some of them really don't like us, and the shit is confused. But what do y'all think about this? Leave me a comment. Let's talk about it. And don't forget to hit the follow button. I want to know, do you agree with this move? Do you think this move is too aggressive? Because I think it's too aggressive. But leave me a comment. Let's talk about it. And don't forget to hit the follow button.
Trump supporters are now upset with Donald Trump's immigration policies because they are directly affecting them and their families. Now, this is specifically Cuban American Trump supporters who thought likely that Donald Trump's policies wouldn't affect them at all. It would only affect people that didn't like Trump, that he didn't like, but not them. Take a look at what Congresswoman Salazar had to say, who is a Cuban American and a Trump supporter. I'm urging Homeland Security to protect Cubans awaiting legal status adjustment through the Cuban Adjustment Act. Don't penalize them for Biden's screw-ups. Well, I have news for you, Ms. Salazar. This is not Biden who is doing this. This is happening to your constituents, their family members, to Cubans looking to come to America because of Donald Donald Trump. You campaigned alongside him. He told you what he was going to do, and it was going to affect everybody. Now, I, for one, actually feel bad for the people who want to come here and have a better life. But for the people who voted for Donald Trump, this is what you get. Welcome to the find out phase. Hope you enjoy your stay.
No, it's not funny. It's really not funny. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just very ironic and crazy how can I say this? Throughout the election, I saw so many Cubans, Venezuelan, a bunch of Latinos saying with their whole chest, not voting for Kamala. There was this guy even that he was getting harassed by his neighbor that didn't even want him around, but he carried his Trump flag, proud to vote for Trump. But I just wanted to come out here and let them know and ask if they have seen Trump's plan. Have they seen who Trump have elected to run the immigration and his plan for the mass deportation? He has elected the two most anti-immigrant that he could possibly find. And did you see that he has announced that he's gonna cancel the CBP 1 and the humanitarian parole? Do you know who that affects? Do you know who that affects? Do you know where he's planning on sending you coming January? He actually even warned you guys to pack your bag and save him the time and save you for humiliation. I don't know if you guys are following everything that's happening. I mean, I would hope you'd be following because that affects you directly. But what bothers me is the fact that you truly did not believe that Trump would carry his plan. You did not. And that blows my mind. It makes absolutely no sense for you guys to sit and say, afraid of socialist dictator, and you turned around and voted for one. Anyway, good morning.
So countries grant asylum when your country of origin has got tensions, such as civil war. We've got political tensions, all these kinds of things that go on in these countries. And when the people of that country can no longer feel safe, they can't thrive, and they just feel that their survival is at risk, they go to countries seeking a refuge or asylum. And the Cubans were granted this in the land of the free. And it was such a privilege. Honestly, they became residents. They were considered as U.S. citizens. But why in the world did you have to go back to your country of origin? That's all the Trump train is asking. And if you were threatened because of this political climax in that area, that suggests that you going back means that your country is now safe. Right? Because I understand that these countries just want your presence for it to thrive and for it to continue being productive. And the migration population or the migrant population was that aspect of assistance that farmers used, Coca-Cola and industries were just using. But you going back to your country of origin suggests that maybe you are no longer interested in what this land has to offer. Perhaps. But to get into more details, the tension became clear on January 26 when Colombian President Gustavo Petro revoked authorization for 2 deportation flights set to land in Bogota. In a social media post announcing his decision, Petro accused the United States of treating the deportees like criminals, as they were deported on the U.S. military plane in which they were handcuffed. So the president of this Hispanic country felt that their people were being treated as if they were criminals, because handcuff means or suggests that these people are kind of like criminals. Well, that's how they saw it. Now, the Trump train quickly retaliated by threatening harsh trade tariffs, sanctions, and visa restrictions against Colombian officials. So the Colombian officials immediately got the Trump train's response, and he just sanctioned them or threatened to sanction them and also threatened to tariff them when it came to trades, right? So Petro then countered on social media that he would also impose his own tariffs on the land of the free as well. So the diplomatic showdown ended after intense back-channel discussions between the two countries forced Petro to reverse his decision. Okay, so this is how things are turning out now. The Colombian president's attempt to block the Trump administration's mass deportation plan highlights the broader challenge Latin American leaders face in adapting to a dramatic turn in U.S. immigration policy. All right, so whatever that the president of the United States does, I guess you just have to follow suit, especially in the situation of the perspectives that we just heard from that video, because the immigration officials were just looking for a reason to kind of curb the whole situation. And since the Trump train was promising to deliver this during his campaign, what else did people expect? I just don't get that. Now, during the Biden administration, U.S. officials sought to foster partnerships with Latin American governments and non-governmental organizations to create safe migration transits and open legal pathways for migrants seeking economic opportunities in the land of the free. So during Uncle Joe's time, he kind of understood that these immigrants are just here for success. They're just here to experience the American dream. So we're going to make a partnership with your countries of origin so that they come here safely and follow the procedures, right? But the Trump train, well, it's kind of ignoring all that. Now, this dynamic led at least 5 million people from the Western Hemisphere to enter the United States through the southern border with and without authorization. All right, between 2021 and 2023, Trump's return marks the end of this approach. So people kind of took advantage of that partnership, and they just started perhaps abusing the system and started coming illegally. That's what that perspective suggests. Now that Trump is back, he's going to put an end to all of that. 1,000 people every day being deported. My God. His target is at least to just get rid of them all. That's what that suggests, I guess. As Latin America leaders await further details of the Trump administration mass deportation plans, the U.S.-Colombia standoff sends a clear warning that resisting the White House will come at a steep political cost. So you can't resist, guys. You just can't resist what's going on, regardless of who you are. Now, what are some of the comments that people have concerning this from the Hispanic videos that we just watched? What are people's responses? The first comment that I have for you is, no hate here, but it's reality. You come here illegally, then you are breaking the law. That's with all the other countries too. Should be mad at the other countries that failed their own citizens. Now the other comment says, pray to God, the high power, love and peace to all. And the other comment says, keep in prayer, we will prevail. If God is on our side, who can be against us? The other comment says, we do not hate you. We share the same oppressor. We fight for the 1964 Civil Rights Act that all minorities benefit from. I am praying for all immigrants. And the other comment says, 92% black women and 78% black men voted towards Kamala. We did our part. You remember those times. You remember those warnings. You remember those videos we were talking about how the black community was just spreading awareness that the Trump train is not playing around this time. And one intriguing aspect that I find about this discussion is people were ignoring Project 2025. People were ignoring the fact that he was campaigning, talking about the things that he was going to do. This is what people are ignoring. But I think we've come to the end of our discussion. And these are some of the discussions being had currently concerning the mass deportations and those perspectives we heard. But what are your own thoughts on today's video? Please leave them in the comment section below. And as always, 5-4 season continues. Don't forget to like and also subscribe.